Lao Tzu, literally translated as Old Master, was an ancient Chinese philosopher and writer who is known to be the founder of Taoism. Taoism is a philosophy which emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao. The word Tao is defined as a path or way of virtuous conduct that, if followed, leads to a life of harmony. He is also credited as the writer of Taoism's most sacred text, Tao Te Ching, in which he spoke of 4 cardinal virtues that, when embraced, would reveal the truth of the universe. He believed that living and practicing these teachings can open you to higher wisdom and greater happiness, and that they bring a closer connection to our innate spirituality. The Old Master's teachings, even after 2,500 years, are world-renowned, studied and practiced by millions around the world, and in this video, we will be talking about how to be spiritual by examining Lao Tzu's 4 cardinal virtues. Number 1. Reverence for life. Lao Tzu says, "Living in the moment brings you a sense of reverence for all of life's blessings." This virtue manifests as having unconditional love and positive regard for all creatures in the universe, starting with ourselves. This will then naturally flow out to all others. Taoist monks are said to have absolute reverence for life. They refrain from taking any life, even the life of a cockroach. They believe that the killing of weaker, relatively insignificant creatures is a greater wrong. Unlike lions and tigers, small creatures have no ability to defend themselves, so we need to be even more compassionate towards them. This teaching holds that all life is sacred, so one must never kill or do any harm to any living being. The world in which we live often forces us to ignore this virtue. If there's one word that defines our modern lives, it's excess, and in the name of profit and excessive consumption, we've not only been extremely cruel to all other life forms on this planet, but we've also been stepping on our fellow humans for the sake of our own selfish motives. We strive to be the very best and loving version of ourselves, the version that looks good on the surface, the one that makes for fast-paced, exciting, Instagrammable lives. How often do we put up an image of our dog on Instagram for likes, yet eat meat the very same night? How often do we pass homeless individuals on the street without acknowledgement? Between the business of our daily lives and going from one task to another, we forget the world around us and the others in it. We must understand that we're dependent on other life forms for our sheer survival, and this means we must treat them with respect, kindness, and gratitude. Living in harmony with the natural world and thus respecting all forms of life is achieved through balancing our yin and yang energies. Put simply, yin and yang represent the opposite forces of the natural world. Night and day, man and woman, birth and death. In symbolic terms, yin is represented as feminine and yielding, while yang is represented as masculine and more aggressive. In order to live with reverence towards nature, both men and women must balance their yin and yang energies. The integration of these two conflicted forces makes for a healthy soul, since there is no yin without yang, just like there's no shadow without sun. This means that if we want to live in harmony and show love and respect to others and other forms of life, we must learn to make a conscious effort to love and respect ourselves first. When we come to see ourselves as the pure, wonderful and unique creations we are, we find it difficult to ignore this purity in others. Further to this, we seek to understand and appreciate them rather than judge and criticize. In doing so, you'll find you can show unconditional positive regard not only to people you like, but also those you find irritating or people you don't deem to be deserving of your love or respect. All living creatures are equally important, and they require equal respect. Trying to dominate and control all life only leads you away from enlightenment, and you won't find peace in the midst of a struggle for control. And furthermore, a truly spiritual perspective would tell you that love is freedom. Number 2. Natural sincerity. In the words of Lao Tzu, when pure sincerity forms within, it is outwardly realized in other people's hearts. This particular virtue manifests itself as honesty, simplicity, and authenticity. It basically states to stay true to who you really are and not to allow outside forces to sway you. Lao Tzu suggests that the only way to live harmoniously with the universe is to tell the truth, which can be anything but pleasant. In our modern world, we're often so caught up in the daily grind that we tend to easily disconnect from our true selves. It's very easy to get emotionally deprived in this fast-paced society with a lifestyle that leaves very little time for making truly deep emotional bonds. In order to fill this gap, we tend to go around pleasing people while losing ourselves in that process. This is the exact situation in which some of Lao Tzu's wisdom can truly help us grow and heal. Being true to yourself means making choices that reflect a respect and affection for your nature. We often make choices that don't honor our true nature, which is the real you. In Taoism, these are called dishonest choices. It's easy to go with what others think or want as opposed to what you feel you should be doing. However, as soon as you make a dishonest choice, you start to feel an inner discomfort, and before long you're worried, anxious, and resentful. This is because caring too much about what other people think of you goes directly against the flow. By doing that, we're trying to bargain with the sacred universe by forcefully and perhaps subconsciously trying to manipulate others into liking us so we can get our emotional needs met. The only right way to go about things is by being sincerely able to walk the walk and talk the talk, meaning being able to live out what you believe in with your speech and actions. Being sincere and telling the truth might not get you many friends, but it will get you the real ones. And only real friends can satisfy your emotional needs for belonging and intimacy. Lao Tzu also thought of sincerity as the most important attribute of leadership. He thinks that if the leader of the people is sincere and truthful, it will reflect in all of the community. He thinks that if the people disobey their leaders and rebel against them, it is purely because their leadership is not sincere enough. A good leader preserves the ultimate reality, embraces the Tao, and thus promotes sincerity, and so the whole world follows him joyfully. The inspiring leader doesn't tyrannically impose orders, but he rather clarifies the instructions on how to act to reach a common goal that serves the greater good. The goal of Taoism is to be true to yourself. By accepting the truth about ourselves and others, we not only find the peace in this life, but we can help others along their paths as well. Number 3. Gentleness. To quote Lao Tzu, "The first is gentleness, the second is economy, and the third is shrinking from taking precedence over others." Gentleness means simply being kind to all life and not coming from a place of egotistical desires. When we practice gentleness, we give up the need to be right because being kind is more important than being correct. Lao Tzu put gentleness before everything else and thought that a spiritual person is the one that does not interfere with the natural flow of Tao. To understand this natural flow, Taoists often use the metaphor of water to observe its effortless capacity for following its own pathway, formlessly and shapelessly adjusting to whatever it meets along the way. Water also sustains life. For humans and animals alike, water has a cooling effect on the body, dissolving impurities, driving nutrients and waste around the body, replenishing the balance within its energy systems and its reserves. Similarly, gentle people are often therapeutic people, less punishing of others, more empathetic, flexible, and adaptive. As with flowing water, they can preserve their own character. On the other hand, if you have been going against the flow, acting on ego and trying to fight the will of the universe, then you will most probably find yourself in a very dark corner, feeling desperate and depressed. Since there's no happiness without sorrow, as the Taoist principle of yin and yang would suggest, Lao Tzu emphasized that every spirited individual who's come out of that dark period has embraced the Tao and, as a result, has the capacity to understand other people that are stuck in their own trials. Hence, gentleness arises as the core virtue in relation to other people. If you scour the writings of Lao Tzu and Taoist monks, You will come to a conclusion that gentleness is the umbrella term that encompasses forgiveness, acceptance, and love. As an individual who accepted the ways of the universe through your own trials and tribulations, you will be much more ready to forgive because you understand the suffering of others. You've been there. You'll learn to accept the differences and treat every person as the messenger that conveys a spiritual message with their own mission in life, and treat them with the respect they deserve. In today's world, we get so easily carried away with our own ego and desires that we forget to be gentle and attuned to other people's needs. With all of the social media attention we get, we turn into mini false celebrities, each with our own spotlight that allows us to broadcast our idealized phantom selves, while losing touch with real life and continuing to inflate our own egos. Since power, influence, number of followers, or Facebook friends is the currency we respect and the language we understand, we can oh so easily forget to tune in to other people's needs because we're encouraged to be so self-centered. To be truly emotionally healthy and happy, you need to form close bonds with good people, and the best way to do that is to be gentle and understanding of other people's needs, struggles, and tribulations. We as modern people are also often guilty of thinking that gentleness is weakness, since we do not grasp the concept of sensitivity the way that we should do. But we need to understand that the key to true strength, the one that dissolves the limitations of our own ego, is sensitivity itself. Again, as the staple of Taoist ideas, the yin-yang symbol would suggest, there is no night without a dawn. So therefore, to be truly strong, you need to be vulnerable and sensitive first. And without those yin qualities integrated, we cannot be spiritually healthy. The key to global change begins with the individual. So start with your own life and surroundings. Be gentle to the planet. Recycle all the plastics we use in our daily lives. Go and donate some of your less used clothes to people in need. Instead of fulfilling your superfluous consumerist desires, go and donate some money to a good cause. But first, start with the small steps. Be gentle to yourself and your loved ones. If you happen to get into an argument, remember that kindness is more important than being right. And when you remind yourself of this, you will no longer have a strong, ego-inspired desire to dominate or control others, which will allow you to move into a rhythm with the universe. Number 4. Supportiveness. As we learn from Lao Tzu, giving to others selflessly and anonymously, radiating light throughout the world and illuminating your own darkness, your virtue becomes a sanctuary for yourself and all beings. This virtue manifests in your life as service to others without any expectation of reward. This virtue is the basic tenet of humanity, as it is about cultivating the spirit of service to others. Instead of thinking only of one's own good, supportiveness is about channeling all the good things you find within yourself and sharing them to other people, so you can make their lives better. Our modern lifestyle and our connections are often represented as a rat race in pop culture. We are all guilty of going our own way without much care for our fellow man. For the first time ever, we have developed enough technology and scientific solutions that we generally have more leisure time and options than ever before. But despite all of the superabundant goods we have at our disposal, in doing so, we've sunk into selfishness and self-centeredness, resulting in a counterintuitively large amount of people reporting feeling depressed. Through the lens of Taoist teachings, the problem is quite simple to define. In search of their greedy wishes, the people have turned against each other. This whole civilization was built upon human interaction and cooperation. Nowadays, that very pillar of our society is crumbling, and people feel more and more desperate and alienated. The diagnosis is very clear. Instead of letting excuses or selfishness like, I don't have enough money, I'm too tired, I don't have time, or what will I get back in return dominate our life, we need to shift our attention off of ourselves by asking this one simple question: how may I serve? When you do so, the message you're sending is, I'm not thinking about myself and what I can or can't have. Your attention is on making someone else feel better. Supportiveness is not just related to giving away your money. It's also about simple gestures like being there for someone, listening to somebody's problems, or donating things that you no longer need. The very thing that fuels our goal-getting yang energy is the nice feeling of belonging and togetherness. There's no better way to belong than to be supportive of your fellow man. There are many ways you can connect with people in order to work for a greater non-profit cause. Regardless of your religious beliefs or political ideology, there is certain common ground we can all agree upon. For instance, there is a very low probability of finding someone that disagrees that something must be done in order to preserve our natural world, and that it has been compromised for quite a long time now. As a result, there are now many eco-activist groups in the world, known for being a great source of adventure and bonding time, doing it under the flag of a great cause. When you concentrate on what good you can do to others without thinking of getting anything in return, you'll find joy in serving other people. Sometimes just being there for other people is already enough for them. The basic need of humankind is to be spiritually healthy, and you cannot be spiritually healthy without relying on others, and therefore supporting others. These 4 virtues, if fully embraced, will bring much happiness to your life. Each one of them brings a powerful way of being that illuminates a path to happiness. The 4 cardinal virtues are a roadmap to the simple truth of the universe. So, if you enjoyed this video, please do make sure to check out the full Philosophies for Life channel, and for more videos to help you find success and happiness using ancient philosophical wisdom, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.